Hey guys, and welcome back to Fleetyards Mission Briefing. I'm Captain Foley,
And I'm Commander Coggins. Hi guys.
and we are here to display for you and present you with a ship from a sci-fi franchise, of course, as we always do on Fleetyards Mission Briefings. There's so many sci-fi franchises out there. There's so much ships, so many ships to look at, such cool designs. And today's episode, I'm not exactly 100% sure what it is because Samuel's bringing this one to me kind of as a surprise. So we always have great, fantastic renders from Samuel, but I'm going to let him tell you what ship it is and what franchise we're looking at today.
Now, one thing I want to say before we get started, we like variety here on Fleetyards. Different franchises, different styles. We're not running out of ideas, guys. We just want to do interesting, different ships. So today, we're looking at the Peacekeeper Prowler, the main fighter craft, from, I think, the wonderful show Farscape. We've already done Talon, as actually a pilot. We're now back into the world of Farscape. God, how many weeks later, how many months later? This is the Peacekeeper Prowler, so the baddie fighter. First reaction, it's worth saying this model, just as Talon, was created by Ry Salcombe, who will lead VFX people behind Star Trek Beyond. He made these like a decade ago, gave them out for everyone to use. So it's fan, but he's a very wonderful modeler. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but you can get the idea. So thank you, Rise. As always, wonderful guy. First reactions to of the Peacekeeper Prowler.
It looks pointy.
It's pretty pointy.
It looks
You noticed
very
that, did you?
Yes. It's very neat. I like the red stripe on it. It looks very aggressive, very maneuverable, very aerodynamic. It could probably be great in an atmosphere as well, just slicing through the air. Yeah, I like it. It's an aggressive looking ship, and for a fighter, I approve of that.
Yeah, it's kind of pushing the real world tech a bit. Like I think we could probably design something like this, sort of, but you know how thin it is, how whatever. One thing that Farscape has is that the main peacekeepers, their symbol is like red, black, and white, and it's sort of Nazi-ish. There is some parallels. If I said to you, this is a future Nazi ship, would you say makes sense?
Yeah, I guess, sure. Yeah. Put a swastika on the side there near the cockpit area, and I'd be like, all for it.
Just in the sense of the red and the black and the pointy and the aggression, like that.
Yeah.
You know, there was that small underline thing. But Stuart, the question of scale always comes up before we go into the designing more. What do you think about? I said fighter. That should be a good indication. But what do you think the size of this ship is?
I'd say probably the size of a Viper from VSG.
Okay.
I don't think it's quite as long as X-Wing.
Okay.
I could be wrong in that regard. I know it's not as wide as an X-Wing by looking by the wings. But anyway, yeah, I'd say probably a Viper size would be my guess.
And you think a 1-person, 2-person, 3-person fighter? What do you think?
I think maybe 2-person.
Okay.
With the shape of the canopy, maybe 3 people. But
Do you think two people yet smaller than a Viper train as 1-person?
yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of length there. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I mean, it's a fighter, so you got a cockpit size. I mean, you look at it, fighters these days. You're in your seat, and there's like stuff all around you. It's not
True.
like there's grandiose room to move. So,
Well, let's go to the next picture.
oh snap! Does it even have people in it?
Why'd you say that?
Because it's so small, and I'm looking at the person in the Viper. Are the people minis? Like, are they mini people?
I'm also going to tell you, Stuart, this is a 2-person fighter craft.
Okay, well, like I said, but looking at the kind of what I assumed was the canopy, I kind of got that vibe that it could be. But I definitely did not expect it to be this small.
Okay, this is where we have a wonderful little scale problem, and I've tried to fix it as much as possible. As we always do, guys, this is a BSG Viper, scaled to the exact measurement as it was meant to be, so the same meter in 3D, with a real BSG person scaled to 6 foot. So this is an accurate what it should be to real life. As you can see, I would agree the person is not appropriately sized for that fighter. Why I've done it this size, I found a scale chart online. Farscape is one that they didn't really go into scale, but this is what they said online the scale was. This is the only size I could find, and this is the official. If we at Fleetyards just went by the official, like the X303 from Stargate, it's wrong. It doesn't work. It can't work. Some of the online scales are wrong. We are trying to fix that. So that is what the online says it is.
Wrong.
I don't agree. Because
I don't
yes,
either.
they can say a size, but then when you suddenly try and actually compare it to something and try and prove it, they haven't done that. Especially when you can just put a number next to it and then say, oh yeah, ships. Well, if you go to the next picture, this is the Viper, same scene, same fighter, with a person taking out the Viper and then standing up. So as you can see, the person wouldn't even remotely fit. Not
No.
even slightly. And this shows pretty conclusively this is a wrong size. This cannot work. The online scale is wrong, guys. So we are here to tell you the real size. I'm so glad I checked this out, because as soon as I put them together, I was like, that doesn't work. So how do we then determine the real scale? Well, that's tricky, and obviously we're not going to get it perfect, because we can't. But the next picture is a still from the show. They built a real Viper model, physical model, and that is the basis we can go by. Well, look, John Crichton, around about 6 foot man, let's say, he is just under the canopy, and just the guns in Salcombs go a little bit higher. They should be more, whatever. That's fine. We'll take that with a grain of salt. But as you can see, it's taller than a person by quite, by a good foot, if not 2 feet. So not only, it's actually a decent sized size, and that gives us a rough indication of the sizing.
It's got landing gear, right? So it's taller than a person with the landing gear down and
Yes.
landed. So if you put the landing gear up and then you put a person beside it in space, let's say, it would change the height of it as far as that goes, right?
I don't think he obviously can't stand up in the ship. He would be,
obviously, yeah.
but obviously the we have the model with the landing gear, so it's fair to say it's still the equivalent
Okay.
height. But the next picture is my extrapolation when you put a person in a cockpit, which actually he can fit now, and because the cockpit, there's the cockpit, and then it has quite a lot of external back room behind him, so you can probably fit in 2 with a hell of a lot of point at the front that no one's going to be in.
Yeah.
And then it's roughly about the same size with the person. As you can see, somewhat bigger. What do you think?
I can see that, and you know what? I love when you do this because it makes perfect sense. And so this is a little bit bigger than the Viper,
Yep.
and I assumed it was about the same size. So
Well, the Viper is a very small fighter. It's very
It is.
compact, and we know that from a lot of things.
well, this one looked very small too in the initial picture. So that's, like I said, not as big as an X-wing, because an X-wing is quite a bit bigger than a Viper,
Yeah.
right?
But that's why we use a Viper, because we have the exact sizing, the exact person, we have the exact measurements. And again, it just puts in perspective how ridiculous that initial size was. When whoever wrote that didn't know, they didn't compare anything.
Yeah. And as we find out, doing all these episodes, even for Trekyards and Fleetyards, the on-size scale, or the scaling
Yep.
that you find online,
Yep.
is sometimes very questionable. Even just reading it in your head, you're like, that doesn't make sense. And then you find contradicting measurements in other sites. So I love that when he does this with the models, because it's kind of the definitive answer as to what is going on with the sizing, because we're seeing it right now compared with a Viper and a 6-foot person. Obviously that's the size of them, unless in this Farscape universe everybody's like this tall.
Yeah, sure. Cryo must be small too, but no. I mean, again, fundamentally, the ship can fit 2 people, and there's a picture of the next one will show that. It can fit 2 people, which means 2 people sitting down model have to be able to, not necessarily the legs will be down, but this sizing of them sitting down has to fit 2. So it has to be a certain size. While I'm sure this is several feet off, it's far closer to the other one. So we're going to ignore the online scale and go with a real life scale, roughly. So the next picture again shows that's the internal cockpit. Plenty of room. 2 people, plenty of room. Clearly not cramped in the same way. This is clearly a pretty large fighter, considering. Clearly bigger than a Viper by a long way.
They sit lined up, one behind the other, right?
Now, I will say that I don't think it's necessarily designed for 2 people per se, because I think because you're normally a full spacesuit when you pilot it. I think she's quite a smaller lady. I think she's just hitching a ride, but is capable of supporting, because each Viper Raptor, what I'm trying to say, Prowler, I think has food and supplies to last as well. So I think there's extra space for sense. I mean, it's a pretty capable craft. I think it's got more than just the most basic Viper-esque thing. This is a force in itself.
Because initially when I said it was a 2-person ship based on the way the canopy looked, it looked like they almost sat side by side, because it's the black part kind of has it comes out like this. So I thought perhaps one could sit beside, and then I said 3, because technically you could have somebody else sit behind you then, behind the two main seats. But
Yeah.
yeah, this there is quite a bit of room in there actually.
Yeah, like I said, it is designed for a full spacesuit as well. But I mean, you see multiple times two people. I mean, Aaron teaches Crichton how to fly. Two people. I mean, it happens all the time. So yeah, technically with two, and again, proves the online scale wrong by quite a lot because not even one person can fit in the scale chart.
Yeah.
So Stuart, based on this revised scale, let's have a look with the next picture. There she is, in our classic set of ships with, as I always say, the real Stargate SG-1 Death Glider, the real Type 9 Shuttle, the real Raptor from BSG, the real Vibe from BSG, and the real Star Fury from Babylon 5, the Runabout, the X-Wing, and the Falcon are fan models. Everything else is real. Obviously, Prowler is fake as well. But what do you think scaling-wise?
I approve. It's X-Wing size.
You were right. Good job.
Well, I thought it was a little bit smaller than an X-Wing, but yeah. Yeah, that works for me. I like that. I have no problems with that at all. And it's such a cool-looking ship compared to the other ones even. It's just very, I was going to say sleek.
You can say it. You can say it.
Sleek, pointy, and aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I like it.
It certainly, I mean, we can see a lot of stylistic differences in these ships. You know, we've got Star Wars, Stargate, BSG, Babylon 5, and Star Wars, I know, so Star Wars. You know, a lot of stylistic differences. Obviously, it's closest, I think, to the X-Wing.
Yeah.
And if you put two other wing, I think they couldn't have put two other, wing things. It would have been too close to an X-Wing. But it certainly pushes that aesthetic to the full point, a literal point, a literal aggressive stabbing, which is what Rick Sternbach was going with the Equinox and the Prometheus, pushing in that direction. But everything else, far more. I mean, look at the Babylon 5 ship. I mean, way more. The technology has to be more blunt because that's that's as far as they can go. Raptor a bit more elegant, Viper doing very well, all very different. But it certainly looks. It looks the most military out of all of them. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
How is a very maneuverable ship? But do you think how maneuverable? Like how compared to everything else? Just based on the feel of the ship, do you think it's gonna blow everything out of the water in terms of maneuverability, in terms of speed? Yes.
Both speed and maneuverability. I think it would blow all these out of the water. Except the Viper might be a challenge, might be able to tangle with it. Yeah. The X-Wing not so much. The X-Wing's not as agile as that thing looks. So I think the Viper and it are pretty much about the same.
Yeah, I think the Viper is. I think it's about pilots at that point. Yeah. But let's go to the next picture, a top scale. Obviously now got a Gunstar there. That's always fun. As you can see, actually you were right. It's just a bit smaller than X-Wing. That's about what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you compare it to the Viper, you can see how you can fit two people in the cockpit of this one.
Yeah.
The Gunstar is interesting.
Pretty bulky.
Yeah. Yeah, that's neat. I like it.
Cool.
If you had it fly backwards, it would look like the Naboo starfighter almost.
That's gonna be a fun one to look at, isn't it? It's chrome. Yellow chrome.
No, not yellow and chrome. Yeah. All right, so next picture, shot of it from the back. It looks like it's got a lot of engines. Are those all the engines?
I think so. They're not weapons, so yeah.
Well, they'd be maneuvering engines. If this is a fighter, you fire those ones at the very tip to really get a spin, to really turn really quick and not be very agile. I think that works, yeah.
Yeah, my gut is that it has atmospheric engines dedicated, and the big boosters are for space, and then go into atmosphere, and then But it's interesting how it's a very, very simple. I mean, it's a very simple design. It's just cockpit, back engines, then the weapons pods, because the points are weapons, just attached. They said, hey, you know what? We're going to throw more engines. We're just going to throw engine pods. Just throw as many engines as we can get onto this pod. It's kind of a cool thing, really.
Yeah, and it makes sense for, like I said, for a fighter. I mean, you want maneuverability. You want that turn on a dime kind of maneuverability. So I mean, why not put small little thruster engines out at the tips, fire those, and you can spin quick in space.
Yeah, but I mean, can you imagine how fast this would be if they're all firing? This is designed for combat. This is a military grade, fighter.
Yeah.
Didn't say anything radical, because it is a fighter, but yeah. The next picture, though, is interesting. Now, obviously, again, this is where the fan model aspect of it, grain of salt there, but very smooth bottom bit, very simple, very functional,
Very speedboatish.
Mm-hmm.
Put that landing gear up, and it's got that speedboat vibe for sure.
Now, I will ask you a question. How can it land if it's only got one? Like, it would just go, like, or should there be other landing gear, or the engine's so big that it rests on the engines and that? But that doesn't seem right with these dimensions.
It doesn't seem right, but maybe there's like anti-grav generators back there. I don't know. You can always think of something.
Anti-grav's good. I can buy that.
Got no power though, and you're screwed. But whatever.
Well, then you're screwed anyway, aren't you?
Well,
that's the least of your issues if you're already screwed.
True. Yeah, good point though. Next shot is very odd. The way it points up like that is kind of for me. I think it would be better if it pointed more down or came to more of a straight point.
Yeah.
But that makes it look like a banana.
Or Norwegian shoe. Very pointy shoe. Or a high heel.
Clog.
Yeah, there you go. But it gives it a whole different feel, I think, from this angle.
Yeah.
Looks like sort of a seagull wearing sunglasses.
Yes. I see more of a pelican with the long...
Oh, yeah. Pelican wearing sunglasses with 2 points. No, I don't know. It gives it a very different vibe, though. It's not what you think, but I love the dimensionality. Like, the levels, and it actually goes down, and then these pods coming out. I mean, oh my goodness, I hadn't even noticed, but look how thin those pod structures are. I mean, holding the guns, I mean, there's a close-up in a second, so I won't go into it too much, but that's really... yeesh.
Now, do those turn at all, or fold in, or?
I don't know actually. That's interesting. I haven't seen Farscape in a while. They don't use them too much. It's kind of surprised. Like, I think the CG budget they were using all of it on costumes and props. I mean, to give the guys the makeup was pretty hefty every time. Yeah. And obviously we saw in the episode when it's landed, those wings are slightly more straight. Again, fan model, so it sells equivalent, but. I mean, you would sort of assume... I mean, if they did move, that'd be better for manoeuvrability. I mean, then you could do, if you did a thing, you could do quicker turns, like Firefly, or go up, make them jets. I mean, surely that would make more sense if they were rotatable.
Yeah, it definitely would.
I mean, especially if the points, then... If those could also rotate, then you've got guns that could shoot out in every direction as well, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Would be cool.
Interesting.
Let's move on to the next picture, and here we see the canopy, which is why I thought there might be 2 people. Just the way it's shaped, doing that at the front. If you had opened it up, you could have 2 seats.
I wonder why it's like that. It's pretty different, and forms should follow functions, so I wonder why.
Yeah, I have no idea. Looks neat.
Yeah, there you go.
A lot of times that's the reason in sci-fi. Looks neat.
Yeah, that's okay. And the next picture is a medium shot of the cannons. Now, as far as I can recall, I feel like the guns come from the points, but now looking at it, I think they come from if you see those 2 little pods on top of it and below, I think those sort of pincers, that's where the energy bolts come from. But they've got the spikes as well, so they can, I guess, do spiky things. I'm not really sure.
Spiky things.
Well, yeah.
Maybe it's like a magnetic compression thing that's after it fires the bolts from those 2 back parts, it like the X-wing almost. Uses that little kind of barrel thing, and it guides it. Yeah,
possibly. But I know it fires pulsy weapons off. Pretty effective. I mean, they're good fighters. But yeah, that's certainly a cool zone. But the next picture is a close-up of that zone, even further. And again, this is Rise model, so you see the lack of detail a little bit, but looks to be a little
flimsy.
Well, yeah. Well, certainly. I mean, those little metally things. But actually, there's it's like a pointy red thing, which is sticking out of it. So then that's probably where the energy comes from, or something. I don't know. It's interesting.
Unless Unless there's one on the top and the bottom, unless it creates the energy between them and then guides it down the
Yep.
length of the spike to fire.
Yep, very very possible, very possible. This Farscape is one of those shows where it was really really good, great characters, great storylines, great villains. They didn't go into too much explanation, and I think this was still a point when CG they couldn't afford too much. That's why when they did a few really cool things, it was really impressive. But we didn't see, apart from Peacekeeper Wars, but that was a full-on movie miniseries. You didn't get to see those big military battles or things. It would have been nice to have seen these things really fleshed out. And I would, I mean, come on, guys. Be the Rick Sternbach of Farscape, the designers. Flesh these things out, talk about technology, let us know, give us understanding, because these are wonderful designs. They deserve extra vavavoom,
Va-va-voom.
Pretty much.
And the next picture is the rear of the ship. Again, lots of propulsion.
That's all a cool shot.
Yeah, it is.
But I like how it feels sort of functional, that, you've got that pointy cockpit, and then it sort of comes out into these two engine pods, like it's a distinctly different section, like they're just sort of attached it, and then obviously coming out. It's a very, functional, everything has its own reason, its own piece, we hope.
Yeah.
But it kind of has that vibe, which I like.
Yeah, I like it. I approve of this ship.
Yeah. But the next picture is the last picture, is the first picture. I guess kind of a short one here today, even though with the scale conundrum stuff, we hope we've answered that question, a question you didn't think you had. Hopefully we've answered that question. Very important question. Although now if you look at the cannons, you can see actually it's a slicey, pointy knife thing, and then the two red.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. I'd be interested to learn how those work, yeah.
Final thoughts then, Stuart?
Final thoughts, I like it. It's very aggressive looking. It's almost organic. It almost looks like a thorn or something that a plant would have that would stick you just by the way it curves and things. So yeah, it looks very menacing and something you don't want to tangle with. I do like the new sizing. Just a little bit smaller than an X-Wing, I think works well. I think scaling it up even a little more so that it could be a two or three seats in there would be excellent as well, and add a few more pods, make a different variation on it. I think it's something that has a lot of potential for that kind of thing. So I like it overall, and the color scheme is awesome.
How do you think it would look if you made it sort of an X Prowler by adding two more pods at the bottom?
Well, I think that everybody would compare it to the X-Wing then, and it'd be like we're ripping off the X-Wing from Star Wars. So I think that's why they didn't do something like that. But I think it would definitely add to the aggressiveness of it. So
yeah, it'd just be Pointy McPointerson.
Exactly.
Very technical explanation there. Yeah, no, I mean, I've always liked this ship. I love that Rise made the models so we can show them, just like Talon. I got to rewatch Farscape and do full episodes. I'm excited to see this thing fly with other ships. I mean, all these different universes have such a distinctly different feel, and it always amazes me how they can feel so different. A type, a Peregrine fighter compared to a Viper fighter, compared to a Babylon 5 fighter, compared to this fighter. I mean, it's all radically different, and yet, this is when you ask yourselves, who would win? Who's more maneuverable? Who pushes technology? I mean, this thing has no FTL, so it's a single fighter. So is technology more or less? If you use energy weapons, not bullets. Because the Viper, I mean, it's the same word, it's the same role, but so radically different. Yeah. So it'd be great to see this fly with other things, and yeah, just interesting design.
And if you want to help us to maybe get a full episode on this ship or many of the other ships we look at Fleetyards Mission Briefing, you can do that by heading on over to Trekyards.com and clicking the donate button to contribute whatever you can to help us with the show, this show and Trekyards, because we do have a full plate with both shows. And we want to do full episodes on these ships. We've done some full episodes on some fantastic ships already, and they're really fun to do. We've got a lot of information out there for you guys. Looking forward to doing more. So another way to help us...
But they take just as much time as a full Trekyards, with all the new animations, all the new renders, sometimes guests. It takes a lot of extra time, so we've got to hit that 1,000 and beyond, guys. That's the important number, the $1,000, so we can be confident that we're funded now.
Patreon amount. We haven't mentioned Patreon yet.
Well, mention Patreon then.
As he just said, if we get over our $1,000 goal on Patreon, the Fleetyards full episodes where we do in-depth analysis of these ships, including figures, facts, histories, everything, will be done on a monthly basis. We will do one a month, I think. It was what we had planned. but we have to hit over our goal on Patreon. So there's a link in the description below for our Patreon. Go check it out and donate what you can on a monthly basis. That will also help us out, and we really appreciate that as well.
Absolutely. If you want to just, make sure you support the show non-financially, like you all want to support the show but don't have huge wallets, just like the show, comment on this show, share it around. If you like Farscape, share it with people like Farscape, and click that bell notification when you subscribe, just to actually get the show notifications every time, because we release a lot of videos a week, and a lot of them, if not all, if not some, at least one are worth seeing, so make sure you do.
I think they're all worth seeing, Samuel, so check them out. But until you check out whatever you're going to check out next from us, until then, I'm Captain Foley, and I will be then when you check that out as well. But bye, I'm Captain Foley.
I'm Connor. Sorry to do it. Bye. Bye, guys.
We'll see you later. Bye, guys.